Hello everyone, welcome back to the Real Talk English Ear channel. I'm Lisa, today's host.
If you are new here, I would like to tell you that we upload new English learning videos regularly to help you improve your English faster and speak with greater confidence. In today's episode, you will improve your English listening skills, comprehension, pronunciation, and speaking fluency. We are diving into an important topic that many B1 and B2 English learners struggle with: how to understand fast English and follow native English speakers more easily. Have you ever listened to a native English speaker and felt that all the words were joining together? Maybe you understood English clearly in a lesson, but when you watched a movie, joined a conversation, listened to a podcast, or spoke with someone in real life, everything suddenly sounded too fast. Don't worry, this is a normal part of learning English, and it does not mean that your English is weak. Native speakers often connect words, reduce sounds, shorten common expressions, and use natural rhythm. That is why spoken English can sound very different from the English you see written on a page. Throughout today's advanced English lesson, we will explore practical techniques that will help you catch fast speech, recognize connected words, understand reduced sounds, follow natural sentence rhythm, and focus on the most important information in a conversation. We will also go through useful daily life examples, listening exercises, repetition practice, and natural English sentences. You will hear how common expressions sound when they are spoken slowly, and how they change when native speakers say them naturally and quickly. Whether you are listening to coworkers, friends, customers, television programs, podcasts, interviews, or everyday conversations, the techniques in this lesson will help you understand spoken English with less stress and greater confidence. By the end of this video, you will understand why native English sounds so fast, what happens to words during natural speech, and how you can train your ears to follow English without translating every word in your mind. Before we begin, make sure to subscribe to the channel and press the bell icon so you do not miss more helpful English learning lessons like this one. Now, find a comfortable place, listen carefully, and repeat the practice sentences whenever I ask you to. Let's get started. The first thing you need to understand is that native English speakers are not always speaking as fast as you think. Very often, the real problem is not speed. The real problem is that spoken English sounds different from written English. You may know every word in a sentence when you read it, but when someone says the same sentence naturally, the words may connect, sounds may disappear, and some words may become very weak. Your brain expects to hear each word clearly and separately, but real English does not usually work that way. Native speakers speak in groups of words, not one word at a time. Once you learn to recognize these groups, fast English will begin to sound slower and clearer. Imagine that someone asks you, "What are you going to do after work?" When you read this question, every word is easy to recognize. However, in a natural conversation, you may hear something closer to, "What are you gonna do after work?" The speaker has not changed the meaning. The sentence still contains the same basic idea, but the sounds have joined together. "What are you" may sound like "what are ya," and "going to" may sound like "gonna." If you are only waiting to hear the careful written form, you may miss the whole question. This is why learning spoken patterns is just as important as learning vocabulary. Let us begin with a simple listening habit. Stop trying to catch every single word. Instead, listen for the main message. When native speakers listen to each other, they do not give equal attention to every word. They focus on the important words that carry the meaning. These are usually nouns, main verbs, adjectives, adverbs, names, numbers, places, and times. Small grammar words such as a, the, to, of, for, and have are often pronounced quickly and softly. If you try to hear all of these small words perfectly, you may become confused and fall behind. Listen to this sentence in your mind. I have to meet my manager at the office at 9. The most important words are meet, manager, office, and 9. Even if you do not hear every small word, you can still understand that the speaker has a meeting with a manager at 9 in the office. This is an essential listening skill. You do not need 100% of the sounds to understand 100% of the message. Now, imagine you are at work and a coworker says, I'll send you the updated report before lunch. You might not clearly hear I will because it becomes I'll. You might not hear the word the strongly because it is unstressed. However, you can focus on send, updated report, and before lunch. These words tell you what will happen and when it will happen. The coworker will send the report before lunch. That is the message you need. Let us practice this idea. I will give you a sentence, and I want you to identify the words that carry the main meaning. Listen carefully. Could you pick up some milk on your way home? The important words are probably pick up, milk, way, and home. The speaker is asking you to buy or collect milk while you are returning home. Now, listen to another one. We're having dinner with my parents on Saturday evening. The strongest information is dinner, parents, Saturday, and evening. Even if we are having becomes we're having, the central meaning remains easy to follow. This way of listening protects you from panic. Many learners hear one unclear word and immediately stop listening. They begin thinking, what was that word? Did the speaker say can or could? Did I miss something important? While they are thinking about the missing word, the speaker continues, and the learner misses the next 10 words. You must train yourself to keep moving forward. If one word is unclear, let it go for the moment, stay with the conversation. The next sentence may explain the missing information. For example, someone may say, I didn't manage to get there until nearly 8. Perhaps you do not clearly understand manage to. Do not stop. The speaker may continue, the traffic was terrible, and the roads were completely blocked. Now, the situation becomes clear. The person arrived late because of traffic. Context has helped you understand the message. Listening is not only about sounds, it is also about predicting meaning from the situation. Prediction is one of the strongest skills you can develop. Before people speak, there are often only a limited number of things they are likely to say. If you are in a restaurant and the server approaches your table, you can predict questions such as, are you ready to order? Can I get you something to drink? Or, how is everything? If you already expect these kinds of questions, your brain can recognize them more quickly, even when they are spoken fast. Let us imagine a daily life situation. You enter a coffee shop during a busy morning. The employee says something quickly. You only catch the words what and drink. Instead of panicking, use the situation. The employee is probably asking, what would you like to drink? Or, what can I get you to drink? You do not need to decode every sound. You can respond naturally by saying, I'd like a small coffee, please. Now, imagine you are at a train station. An employee says, the next train to Manchester leaves from platform 6 in about 10 minutes. You may miss some small words, but next train, Manchester, platform 6, and 10 minutes give you the essential information. Your job is to collect these strong words and build the meaning around them. Another reason native English sounds fast is that words connect. A word ending in a consonant often connects to the next word when the next word begins with a vowel. For example, pick it up may sound like pick it up. Turn it off may sound like turn it off. Take it away may sound like take it away. The words have not disappeared. They are simply flowing into one another. Repeat these phrases slowly first. Pick it up. Turn it off. Take it away. Now, say them more naturally without stopping between the words. Pick it up. Turn it off. Take it away. Do not try to speak carelessly. The goal is to feel how the sounds connect. When your mouth learns to produce connected speech, your ears also become better at recognizing it. Here is another useful example. Can I ask you a question? In natural speech, can I may sound like can I, and ask you may sound like ask ya. The complete sentence may sound like, can I ask you a question? A learner who expects 6 clearly separated words may struggle. A learner who recognizes the sound groups can I and ask ya will understand immediately. Listen to these connected phrases and repeat them naturally. Can I help you? Could I ask you something? Did you enjoy it? Would you like another one? Have you eaten already? Notice that the final sound of one word often moves directly into the beginning of the next word. Try not to place a pause between every word. English rhythm depends on this smooth movement. You may also hear sounds changing when words meet. For example, did you often sounds like didja. Would you can sound like woulda. Could you may sound like coulda. Don't you can sound like don'tcha. These are not always written this way, but they are common in natural speech. Listen carefully to the difference. The careful form is, did you call her? The natural form may sound like, did ya call her? The careful form is, would you like some coffee? The natural form may sound like, would you like some coffee? The careful form is, don't you remember? The natural form may sound like, don'tcha remember? You do not need to force these forms when you speak, but you should train your ears to recognize them. Let us practice with a short daily life situation. Imagine that you arrive home, and your family member asks, did you get everything we needed? In fast speech, it may sound like, did you get everything we needed? You answer, I think so, but I forgot the bread. The family member says, don't you have a list on your phone? That may sound like, don't you have a list on your phone? You reply, I do, but I didn't check it before I left the store. This short exchange includes natural sound changes that happen constantly in real conversations. Now, repeat the key sentences. Did you get everything we needed? Say it again naturally. Did you get everything we needed? Don't you have a list on your phone? Say it again naturally. Don't you have a list on your phone? Listen to the rhythm. The sentence is not faster because every word is spoken quickly. It sounds fast because several words are compressed into smooth groups. Contractions also make English sound faster. Native speakers regularly say, I'm instead of I am, you're instead of you are, we've instead of we have, they'll instead of they will, and I'd instead of I would or I had. You probably know these contractions when you read them, but you need to recognize them instantly when you hear them. Consider the sentence, I would have called you, but I was working. In natural speech, this may become, I would have called you, but I was working. The words would have become would've. In even more relaxed speech, the sound may be very short. If you are expecting 2 complete words, you may not recognize them. Listen to these examples. I should have checked the time. She could have told me earlier. We would have stayed longer. They might have missed the bus. Each phrase contains have, but the word is weak and connected to the word before it. Repeat them slowly, then naturally. I should have checked the time. I should have checked the time. She could have told me earlier. She could have told me earlier. Now, let us place these forms into a realistic conversation. A friend says, you should have called me. I could have picked you up from the station. You reply, I know, but I thought you were still at work. Your friend says, I would have left early. You didn't have to take a taxi. Even if should've, could've, and would've sound small and quick, the conversation becomes understandable when you recognize the pattern. Another important principle is repetition with variation. Listening to the same sentence only once is not always enough. You need to hear it several times, but you should also hear it in different contexts. For example, practice the phrase, "I didn't catch that." You can use it when you do not hear someone clearly. Now, place it in different situations. At work, you might say, "Sorry, I didn't catch that. Could you repeat the deadline?" On the phone, you might say, "I didn't catch the address. Could you say it again?" In a noisy restaurant, you might say, "I didn't catch what you ordered." Repeat the phrase now, "I didn't catch that." Again, "Sorry, I didn't catch that." Now, make it more specific. "I didn't catch the last part." This is a useful expression because understanding fast English does not mean pretending that you understood everything. Good listeners know how to ask for clarification calmly and naturally. You can also say, "Could you say that again? Could you speak a little more slowly? What do you mean by that? Did you say Thursday or Tuesday?" These questions help you repair a conversation without feeling embarrassed. Even native speakers ask each other to repeat things. Noise, accents, unclear pronunciation, and unfamiliar topics can make anyone miss information. Your goal is not to become a perfect listening machine. Your goal is to become a flexible listener. A flexible listener uses strong words, context, prediction, connected speech patterns, and clarification questions. These skills work together. The more you practice them, the less frightened you will feel when English sounds fast. For your final practice in this section, listen to this short message and focus only on the main information. "Hi, I'm just calling to let you know that the meeting's been moved to 3:30 and we'll be using the smaller conference room on the second floor." The key information is meeting moved, 3:30, smaller conference room, and second floor. Now, answer these questions in your mind. What changed? The meeting time changed. What is the new time? 3:30. Where will the meeting happen? In the smaller conference room on the second floor. Listen to the message again in a more natural rhythm. "Hi, I'm just calling to let you know the meeting's been moved to 3:30, and we'll be using the smaller conference room on the second floor." You may notice that "let you" sounds like "letcha," meeting has, becomes meetings, and several small words become weak. However, the main information remains strong. Remember this as you continue listening today. Do not fight the speed of English word by word. Listen for meaning. Notice the strong words. Expect sounds to connect, and allow the context to help you. Fast English becomes easier when you stop demanding perfect clarity from every sound and start listening to the sentence as one complete message. Now that you understand why fast English can sound unclear, let us go deeper into one of the most important listening skills, recognizing weak sounds. In natural English, not every word receives the same amount of energy. Some words are pronounced clearly and strongly because they carry the main meaning. Other words become shorter, softer, and less distinct. Because they mainly support the grammar of the sentence, this contrast between strong and weak sounds creates the natural rhythm of English. Consider the sentence, "I want to go to the store." If every word were pronounced with equal strength, it would sound unnatural. I want to go to the store. In normal conversation, the speaker is more likely to stress want, go, and store. The two uses of to become much weaker. The sentence may sound closer to, "I want to go to the store." The word to often sounds like to, and want to may sound like wanna in informal speech. Listen to these examples. I need to leave. I have to work. I'm going to call her. In natural speech, they may sound like, I need to leave. I have to work. And I'm gonna call her. These forms are extremely common in everyday conversation. You may hear them at home, at work, In films, in podcasts, and during casual conversations, it is important to understand the difference between recognizing these forms and using them in every situation. You should recognize gonna, wanna, and hafta when listening. You may also use them in relaxed conversation, but in formal writing, you should normally write going to, want to, and have to. Listening and writing follow different conventions. Let us practice with going to. The careful sentence is, "What are you going to do tonight?" The natural spoken version may sound like, "What are you gonna do tonight?" Repeat the careful form first. "What are you going to do tonight?" Now, repeat the natural form. "What are you gonna do tonight?" The second version may seem very different, but the meaning is exactly the same. Imagine a friend asks, "Are you gonna be home later?" You answer, "Yeah. I'm gonna finish some work, make dinner, and probably watch a movie." Your friend says, "I was gonna come over, but I might be late." In this conversation, going to repeatedly becomes gonna. Once your ear recognizes that sound, the conversation becomes much easier to follow. Now, let us practice want to. A server may ask, "Do you want to see the dessert menu?" A coworker may say, "I want to finish this before lunch." A friend may ask, "Do you want to grab some coffee?" The sound wanna represents want to. However, be careful with objects. We can say, "I want a coffee," but that is not the same pattern. Wanta and want to can sound similar, so you must use context. Listen to these two sentences. I want a coffee. I want to leave. In the first sentence, the speaker wants a thing. In the second, the speaker wants to perform an action. Context and the word that follows will help you decide which meaning is correct. Another common reduction is have to, which often sounds like hafta. Listen to this sentence. I have to get up early tomorrow. In natural speech, it may sound like, I have to get up early tomorrow. Notice that the sound changes because the words connect. Repeat it. I have to get up early tomorrow. Now, naturally, I have to get up early tomorrow. Here is a daily life conversation. One person says, "Do you have to work this weekend?" The other replies, "I have to go in on Saturday morning, but I don't have to stay all day." The first person says, "That's not too bad. I thought you had to work both days." Notice that have to and had to may sound quite different in fast speech, but the surrounding information helps you understand the timing. The word and also becomes weak in natural conversation. It may sound like n or simply n. For example, bread and butter often sounds like bread and butter. Come and see may sound like come and see. Black and white may sound like black and white. The word is still present, but it does not receive much stress. Repeat these phrases naturally. Tea and coffee. Work and family. Friends and neighbors. Come and sit down. Try to keep the important nouns and verbs clear, while making and quick and light. This is how natural rhythm develops. Now, listen to a longer example. I got up, took a shower, made some coffee, and checked my email. The important actions are got up, took a shower, made coffee, and checked email. The word and simply connects the final two actions. In fast speech, it may almost disappear. Your brain should follow the sequence of actions, rather than searching for every connecting word. Another weak word is for. In careful speech, it sounds like for, but in natural English, it often sounds like fur. Listen to these examples. This is for you. I've been waiting for an hour. Can you do this for me? In each sentence, for is likely to be short and unstressed. Repeat the sentences naturally. This is for you. I've been waiting for an hour. Can you do this for me? You do not need to exaggerate the weak pronunciation. Simply notice that the vowel becomes softer. This will help you recognize the word when native speakers do not pronounce it clearly. The word of is often reduced as well. A cup of tea may sound like a cup of tea. A lot of people may sound like a lot of people. A kind of problem may sound like a kind of problem. These informal sound patterns appear constantly in natural English. Listen to this sentence. There were a lot of people at the station. In quick speech, you may hear, there were a lot of people at the station. The words lot of become one sound group. Repeat it slowly, then naturally, a lot of people. A lot of people. Now, place it into a full sentence. A lot of people were waiting for the train. You may also hear sort of become sorta, and kind of become kinda. A person may say, I'm kinda tired, meaning, I'm somewhat tired. Someone may say, it was sorta strange, meaning, it was a little strange. These expressions soften an opinion or description. For example, a coworker asks, how did the presentation go? You reply, it was kinda stressful at first, but it got easier. The coworker says, the room was sorta quiet when you started. You answer, I know. I thought nobody was interested, but they asked a lot of questions at the end. Now, repeat the useful sound groups. Kinda tired, sorta busy, a lot of work, a cup of coffee. These are not random shortcuts. They are predictable sound changes. When you know the pattern, fast speech becomes more organized in your mind. Another reason you may lose track of native speech is that you are trying to translate while listening. Translation creates a delay. You hear an English phrase, search for its meaning in your first language, build the translation, and then return to the English conversation. By that time, the speaker has already moved forward. You need to train yourself to connect English directly with meaning, images, actions, and situations. When you hear close the door, imagine the action immediately. When you hear I'm running late, picture someone looking at the time and moving quickly. When you hear the meeting has been canceled, understand the situation directly, without rebuilding the sentence in another language. Let us try a simple exercise. I will say a sentence, and instead of translating it, create a quick picture in your mind. A woman is standing at a bus stop in the rain. See the woman, see the bus stop, see the rain. Now, another sentence. She checks her phone and realizes the bus is delayed. Picture her looking at the screen and seeing the delay. Now, she decides to call a taxi because she has an important appointment. Imagine the decision and the reason. This type of mental visualization helps you process English as meaning rather than as a collection of separate words. It is especially useful when listening to stories, daily conversations, and descriptions. Let us continue the situation in a more natural style. She's been waiting for about 20 minutes, and the bus still hasn't arrived. She's starting to worry because she's going to be late for her appointment. She checks the schedule again, but it says the next bus won't be there for another 15 minutes. In the end, she decides to call a taxi. Now, answer a few questions without translating every sentence. How long has she been waiting? About 20 minutes. Why is she worried? She may be late for her appointment. How much longer will the next bus take? Another 15 minutes. What does she decide to do? She calls a taxi. The answers came from the overall situation. You did not need to analyze every grammar structure. This is how fluent listening develops. You hear, understand, and respond to meaning. Another powerful technique is listening in chunks. A chunk is a group of words that native speakers commonly use together. Examples include, as soon as possible, at the end of the day, I'm not sure, by the way, it depends on, and, to be honest. When you recognize a whole chunk, you do not need to process each word individually. Suppose someone says, to be honest, I'm not sure whether I'll be able to finish it by the end of the day. If you already know the chunks, to be honest, I'm not sure whether I'll be able to. And by the end of the day, the sentence becomes much easier to understand. Repeat these chunks. To be honest, I'm not sure. It depends on. As soon as possible. At the end of the day. For the time being. Every now and then. Try to hear each one as a single unit, rather than several independent words. Now, listen to a realistic workplace message. To be honest, I'm not sure we can finish the project by Friday. It depends on how quickly the client responds. For the time being, let's focus on the main report and deal with the smaller details later. This message contains several familiar chunks. Because they are predictable, your brain has more energy available for the new information. Chunks also help you predict what comes next. When you hear, "it depends on," you expect a condition. When you hear, "the reason is," you expect an explanation. When you hear, "the problem is," you expect a difficulty. When you hear, "the good news is," you expect positive information. Practice these sentence beginnings. The reason I'm calling is, the problem is, the good news is, what I mean is, the main thing is. These beginnings prepare your mind for the type of information that follows. Imagine you receive a phone call. The caller says, "The reason I'm calling is that we need to change your appointment." Immediately, you know the purpose of the call. The caller continues. "The problem is that the doctor won't be available on Tuesday. The good news is that we have an opening on Wednesday morning." Because the structure is clear, the message is easier to follow even if the speaker talks quickly. Now, let us practice understanding a full telephone message. Listen for the main chunks and essential information. Hi, this is Daniel from Green Street Dental Clinic. The reason I'm calling is that we need to reschedule your appointment next Tuesday. The dentist is going to be out of the office, but we have an opening on Wednesday at 10:30 or Thursday at 2. Give us a call when you get a chance and let us know which time works better for you. Now, identify the main information. Who called? Daniel from Green Street Dental Clinic. Why did he call? The appointment needs to be rescheduled. Why? The dentist will be out of the office. Which new times are available? Wednesday at 10:30 or Thursday at 2. What should you do? Call the clinic and choose a time. Now, hear the same message with more natural reductions. Hi, this is Daniel from Green Street Dental Clinic. The reason I'm calling is we need to reschedule your appointment next Tuesday. The dentist is going to be out of the office, but we've got an opening Wednesday at 10:30 or Thursday at 2. Give us a call when you get a chance and let us know which time works better for you. The second version contains needa, gonna, oughta, we've got, and let us know, spoken as one smooth phrase. However, the important information remains clear because you know what to listen for. One mistake many learners make is repeatedly choosing material that is far above their level. They believe that listening to the fastest and most difficult English will automatically improve their comprehension. Difficult material can be useful, but if you understand almost nothing, your brain has very little information to work with. A more effective method is to choose audio that is challenging, but still partly understandable. You should be able to catch the topic, some important phrases, and the general message, then listen again and notice more details. Gradual difficulty builds your listening skill more effectively than constant confusion. Use a 3-stage listening method. First, listen for the general idea. Do not pause. Do not worry about missing words. Ask yourself, who is speaking? Where are they? What is the main topic? During the second listening, focus on details such as times, reasons, places, and actions. During the third listening, notice pronunciation, reductions, connected speech, and useful expressions. Let us use this method with a short daily life story. I was supposed to meet my sister downtown after work, but my meeting ran late. I sent her a message to let her know, but she didn't see it because her phone was on silent. By the time I arrived, she had been waiting outside the restaurant for nearly half an hour. She was annoyed at first, but once I explained what had happened, she understood. For the first listening, identify the general idea. Two sisters planned to meet, but one arrived late. For the second listening, focus on details. Why was she late? Her work meeting ran late. Why did the sister not see the message? Her phone was on silent. How long had she waited? Nearly half an hour. How did she feel? She was annoyed at first. For the third listening, notice useful chunks. Was supposed to means something was planned or expected. Ran late means continued longer than expected. Let her know means inform her. By the time I arrived, introduces what had already happened before that moment. At first, contrasts an initial reaction with what happened later. Repeat these chunks naturally. I was supposed to meet her. My meeting ran late. I sent her a message to let her know. By the time I arrived, she had been waiting. She was annoyed at first. Now, change the story and make it your own. You were supposed to meet a friend, but your bus was delayed. You tried to call, but your phone battery died. By the time you arrived, your friend had already ordered dinner. Say the story aloud in your own words. It does not need to be perfect. The goal is to practice understanding and producing the same chunks in a new situation. When you actively use the expressions you hear, they become easier to recognize in future conversations. Listening and speaking support each other. The better you understand how a phrase feels in your own mouth, the faster your ears will identify it when another person says it. Remember that native speech is not random noise. It follows repeated sound patterns, common chunks, predictable reductions, and familiar sentence structures. Your task is not to chase every individual word. Your task is to recognize those patterns, follow the important information, and remain calm when some sounds are unclear. The more you listen in this way, the more your brain will stop hearing a long stream of confusing sounds. Instead, you will begin hearing familiar groups such as, I'm gonna, do you wanna, the reason is, it depends on, I was supposed to, and by the time. That change is one of the biggest steps toward understanding native English with confidence. Another major challenge in fast English is understanding sentence stress. English speakers do not usually pronounce every word with the same force. They stretch and emphasize the words that carry new or important information, while the other words become shorter. If you learn to hear this pattern, you can often understand the speaker's intention even when several words are unclear. Listen to this sentence. I ordered the blue jacket, not the black one. The strongest words are blue and black, because the speaker is correcting a detail. Now, listen to a different version. I ordered the blue jacket. I didn't borrow it. In this case, the strongest word may be ordered, because the speaker is correcting the action. The words are almost the same, but the stress changes the message. A native speaker may also use stress to show surprise, disagreement, urgency, or contrast. Imagine someone says, you finished the whole report today. The word whole may receive strong stress, because the speaker is surprised that everything was completed. If the speaker says, you finished the report today, the word today may be stressed, because the timing is surprising. Listening to stress helps you understand not only the sentence, but also the emotion behind it. Let us practice with a simple sentence. I thought the appointment was on Friday. First, stress, thought. I thought the appointment was on Friday. This may suggest that your belief was different from reality. Now, stress, Friday. I thought the appointment was on Friday. This suggests that the day is the important misunderstanding. Now, stress, appointment. I thought the appointment was on Friday. This may suggest that you are talking about the appointment, not another event. You do not need to analyze stress consciously during every conversation. With practice, your brain will begin noticing it automatically. Start by listening for the loudest, longest, or clearest words in a sentence. These words often show you where the main meaning is located. Intonation is also essential. Intonation is the movement of the voice as it rises and falls. Native speakers use it to show whether they are asking, confirming, doubting, agreeing, hesitating, or expressing emotion. Sometimes you understand all the words, but misunderstand the speaker's attitude because you miss the intonation. For example, imagine someone says, "That's interesting," with warm, rising energy. It may mean the person is genuinely interested. With a flat or falling tone, it may mean the person is not very impressed. The words stay the same, but the feeling changes. Listen to another phrase. "Are you sure?" A gentle rising tone may sound like a normal request for confirmation. A stronger, surprised rise may mean, "I find that hard to believe." A low, serious tone may suggest concern. Understanding spoken English means listening to the voice, not only the vocabulary. Let us practice emotional meaning. Imagine a friend tells you, "I've decided to leave my job." You could respond, "Really?" with surprise. You could say, "Really?" with a calm, falling tone to show that you are processing the news. You could also say, "Really?" with concern if you think the decision may be risky. Now, repeat these short responses with different feelings. "That's great." "Are you serious?" "I didn't know that." "You're joking." "That makes sense." Allow your voice to rise or fall naturally. This speaking practice will improve your listening because you will become more sensitive to emotional patterns. Fast English often contains unfinished sentences as well. Real conversations are not always grammatically complete. People interrupt themselves, change direction, repeat words, and leave ideas unfinished because the listener can understand from context. A person may say, "I was going to call you, but then I thought, well, maybe you were busy." So, the sentence ends without a complete conclusion. However, you understand that the person decided not to call. Another speaker may say, "It's not that I don't like the idea, The unfinished sentence suggests hesitation or difficulty explaining the real concern. Many learners become confused because they expect every sentence to be complete and carefully organized. Native conversations often include expressions such as, "I mean," "you know," "well," "actually," "basically," "so," and "like." These expressions help speakers organize their thoughts, soften their opinions, or gain time. Listen to this example. "Well, I was going to finish it yesterday, but, something came up." The main message is simple. The speaker planned to finish something yesterday, but an unexpected situation prevented it. The expressions "well," and do not carry the central information. You should recognize these expressions without giving them too much attention. They are part of the rhythm of conversation, but you usually do not need to translate or analyze them. Focus on what happened, why it happened, and what the speaker wants you to understand. The phrase, "something came up," is especially useful. It means an unexpected situation happened and changed the plan. For example, "I'm sorry I missed dinner. Something came up at work." The speaker may not explain every detail, but you understand that an unexpected work problem caused the absence. Repeat these examples naturally. Something came up at work. "I was going to call, but something came up." "Can we meet tomorrow instead?" Something's come up. Notice that something has becomes something's. Another common conversational phrase is, "I ended up." This phrase is used when the final result was different from the original plan. For example, "I planned to stay home, but I ended up going out with my friends." The speaker did not expect to go out, but that was the final result. Listen to these examples. We missed the last bus, so we ended up walking home. I couldn't find the book online, so I ended up buying it at a local store. The meeting took longer than expected, and I ended up missing lunch. Repeat the pattern. I ended up walking home. I ended up buying it. I ended up missing lunch. Recognizing this phrase as one unit will help you follow stories more quickly. Now, let us use these expressions in a daily life conversation. Imagine Emma is talking about a difficult evening. I was supposed to meet a friend after work, but something came up at the office. I thought I would only be there for another 20 minutes, but I ended up staying for nearly 2 hours. By the time I left, my friend had already gone home. The main story contains several familiar chunks. Was supposed to introduces the original plan. Something came up explains the unexpected problem. Ended up staying describes the final result. By the time I left explains what had already happened before she finished work. Now, listen to a more natural version. I was supposed to meet a friend after work, but something came up at the office. I thought I'd only be there for another 20 minutes, but I ended up staying for nearly 2 hours. By the time I left, my friend had already gone home. Notice I would becomes I'd, and the sentences connect smoothly. The speaker does not pause after every word. Instead, the story moves through groups of meaning. One of the best ways to improve your listening is shadowing. Shadowing means listening to a short phrase and repeating it immediately, trying to copy the speaker's rhythm, stress, and intonation. You do not need to copy a specific accent perfectly. Your purpose is to feel how natural spoken English flows. Let us practice with a short sentence. I didn't realize it was so late. First, say it carefully. I did not realize it was so late. Now, say the natural version. I didn't realize it was so late. Notice how did not contracts, and how the unstressed words become lighter. Repeat it again. I didn't realize it was so late. Try not to pause between realize and it. Let the sounds connect. Now, change one detail. I didn't realize you were waiting. Again, I didn't realize you were waiting. Here is another sentence. I was just about to call you. This means the speaker was going to call at that exact moment. Repeat it slowly. I was just about to call you. Now, naturally, I was just about to call you. In relaxed speech, about to may sound like abouta. Use the phrase in context. Your friend calls and says, "Sorry I'm late." You answer, "I was just about to call you." A coworker enters your office, and you say, "That's good timing. I was just about to send you a message." Repeat these sentences naturally. I was just about to leave. I was just about to make dinner. I was just about to ask you the same thing. Each sentence uses the same sound pattern, so your brain can learn the phrase as a complete unit. Shadowing becomes more effective when you use short sections. Do not begin with a long paragraph. Choose one sentence, listen several times, and repeat it. First, focus on the words, then focus on the rhythm. After that, focus on emotion. Finally, say it without looking at the text. Let us practice with a short message. I'm running a little late, but I should be there in about 10 minutes. Read it once. Now, say it naturally. I'm running a little late, but I should be there in about 10 minutes. The most important words are running late, there, and 10 minutes. Now, repeat it with the correct feeling. Imagine you are sending a voice message to someone who is waiting for you. Your voice should sound apologetic but calm. I'm running a little late, but I should be there in about 10 minutes. Change the time. I'm running a little late, but I should be there in about 15 minutes. Change the reason. Traffic is moving slowly, but I should be there in about 15 minutes. Change the situation. The meeting is running late, but I should be home by 7. This kind of flexible repetition trains you to understand phrases even when one part changes. In real conversations, you will rarely hear exactly the same sentence you practiced. However, you will hear the same structure with different names, times, places, and actions. Another useful listening skill is identifying signpost expressions. These phrases show how ideas are connected. For example, first of all, introduces a first point. On the other hand, introduces a contrast. As a result, introduces a consequence. In other words, gives another explanation. The main point is introduces the central message. In casual English, speakers often use simpler signposts, such as but, so, because, anyway, actually, and the thing is. These small phrases help you follow the direction of the conversation. Listen to this example. I wanted to go for a walk, but it started raining, so I stayed home. Anyway, I managed to finish some work. The word but introduces a problem, so introduces the result. Anyway moves the conversation toward a new or final point. Now, listen to another example. The thing is, I don't mind working late occasionally, but I can't do it every night. The phrase, the thing is, prepares you for the speaker's real concern. The word but introduces the limitation. Repeat these sentence frames. The thing is, I need more time. Actually, I've changed my mind. Anyway, let's talk about it tomorrow. In other words, we need a better plan. When you recognize these expressions quickly, you can predict the kind of information that follows. Let us use this skill in a workplace situation. A manager says, the client likes the general idea, but they want us to simplify the presentation. In other words, they want fewer details and a clearer message. So, we'll need to revise the first few slides before tomorrow afternoon. What does the client want? A simpler presentation. What should be removed? Some details. What needs to happen? The first few slides need to be revised. When? Before tomorrow afternoon. Even if the manager speaks quickly, the signposts, but, in other words, and so, guide you through the message. First, there is positive information, then there is a contrast. After that, there is a clearer explanation and a required action. You should also train your ears to recognize numbers, dates, and times, because these details are often the most important information in daily life. Native speakers may say numbers quickly, and similar sounds can be confusing. 13 and 30, 14 and 40, and 15 and 50 can sound similar. The stress is different. In 13, the final part is usually stronger. In 30, the first part is usually stronger. Listen. 13, 30, 14, 40, 15, 50. Imagine someone says, the total is $13.50. This could mean $13.50. If the speaker says, the total is $30.50, that means $30.50. Context is important, but stress also helps. Practice these pairs. 13, 30, 14, 40, 15, 50, 16, 60, 17, 70, 18, 80. Try to make the stressed part clear. Dates can also create confusion. A person may say, the appointment is on the 14th, not the 40th. A train may leave at 15:30, which means 3:30 in the afternoon in the 24-hour clock system. You need repeated exposure to these forms. Listen to this appointment message. Your appointment is on Thursday the 14th at 2:15. Please arrive 10 minutes early. The key details are Thursday, the 14th, 2:15, and 10 minutes early. Now, imagine the message is spoken more quickly. Your appointment's on Thursday the 14th at 2:15. Please arrive 10 minutes early. The words appointment is become appointments, and on Thursday connects smoothly. However, the numbers remain important and usually receive clear stress. When you hear important numbers, repeat them silently in your mind. If someone says, "The delivery will arrive between 12 and 2, think 12 to 2. If someone says, "The meeting has moved from Tuesday to Thursday," think Thursday, not Tuesday. This quick mental repetition helps you hold the details in your working memory. Now, let us try a short listening exercise. Imagine you hear this voicemail. "Hi, I'm calling about your delivery. The driver should arrive sometime between 3:30 and 5. If no one's home, we'll leave the package with your neighbor in apartment 16. Call us before 2 if you need to change the arrangement." What is the delivery window? Between 3:30 and 5. Where will the package go if no one is home? To the neighbor in apartment 16. What is the deadline for changing the arrangement? Before 2. Listen again and focus on the strong words. Delivery, 3:30, 5, neighbor, apartment 16, and before 2. These words allow you to reconstruct the message. Now, create a spoken response. "Thanks for letting me know. I'll be home during that time, so there's no need to leave the package with my neighbor." Say it slowly first, then say it naturally, allowing "letting me" and "there is" to connect and contract. Understanding fast English also requires patience. Your listening skill may improve slowly for several weeks, and then suddenly feel much stronger. This happens because your brain is collecting patterns. At first, each reduction and connected phrase feels new. Later, the patterns become familiar, and you begin recognizing them without effort. Do not measure progress only by asking, "Did I understand every word?" Ask better questions. Did I understand the topic? Did I recognize the speaker's purpose? Did I catch the important details? Did I notice a useful phrase? Could I explain the message in my own words? Suppose you understand 70% of a conversation and correctly follow the main message. That is successful listening. The missing 30% may include repeated information, small grammar words, or details that are not essential. Over time, your understanding will become more complete. Let us finish this practice with a realistic conversation summary. A coworker tells you, "I was just about to send you a message. The clients changed the meeting time again. It was supposed to be at 11, but now they want to meet at 1:30. The thing is, I've got another call at 2, so we'll need to keep the meeting short. The original meeting time was 11. The new time is 1:30. The speaker has another call at 2. Therefore, the meeting needs to be short." Notice the useful chunks. I was just about to, was supposed to, the thing is, and will need to. Repeat the message in your own words. The client moved the meeting from 11 to 1:30. My coworker has another call at 2, so the meeting cannot be very long. This paraphrasing exercise proves that you understood the meaning, even if you did not remember every exact word. Continue training yourself to hear stress, intonation, chunks, signposts, reductions, and important details. These elements are the map of spoken English. When you follow the map, you no longer feel lost inside a fast stream of words. You begin to hear where the speaker is going, what matters most, and how each idea connects to the next. At this stage, you may understand many of the individual features of fast English, but you still need a practical system for using them in real conversations. Knowing about reductions, connected speech, stress, and intonation is useful, but the real goal is to understand people while they are speaking. You need a listening process that helps you stay calm, follow the message, and respond without spending too much time analyzing every sound. The first step is to identify the situation. Before focusing on vocabulary, ask yourself where the conversation is happening, who is speaking, and what they are probably discussing. A conversation at a medical clinic will contain different language from a conversation at a restaurant. A discussion with a manager will sound different from a casual chat with a friend. The situation limits the possible meanings and makes prediction easier. Imagine you walk into an office on Monday morning, and a coworker says, "How'd your weekend go?" The phrase may sound very quick. How did your become something closer to how'd your? However, the situation helps you immediately. It is Monday morning, and the coworker is asking about your weekend. You can answer, "It was good. I mostly relaxed and spent some time with my family." Now, imagine the coworker continues, "Did you get up to anything interesting?" This means, "Did you do anything interesting?" The expression, "get up to," is common in casual conversation. It asks what activities someone did. You might respond, "Not really. I went out for dinner on Saturday, but Sunday was pretty quiet." Notice that you did not need to understand every sound separately. You used the day, the location, the relationship, and the previous question to predict the meaning. Context reduces the amount of listening work your brain must do. Let us practice another situation. You are standing at the checkout in a supermarket. The cashier says something quickly, and you hear only, "bag." The full question might be, "Would you like a bag? Do you need a bag?" Or, "Did you bring your own bag?" You can look at the cashier's gesture and respond appropriately. If you need one, say, "Yes, please." If you do not, say, "No, thanks. I've brought my own." Real communication includes more than words. Facial expressions, gestures, objects, location, and shared knowledge all support meaning. Even without seeing the speaker, tone and context can provide clues. On a phone call, you may not see the person, but you usually know whether you are speaking to a clinic, a company, a friend, or a delivery service. Another helpful strategy is listening for the speaker's purpose. Ask yourself, what is this person trying to do? Are they requesting something, explaining a problem, giving instructions, sharing an opinion, apologizing, inviting you somewhere, or confirming information? Listen to this sentence. "I was wondering if you could send me the updated document before the end of the day." This is a polite request. The phrase, "I was wondering if you could," may sound long and indirect, but the central purpose is simple. The speaker wants you to send the updated document before the day ends. You can reduce the message in your mind to 3 elements: action, object, and deadline. The action is send. The object is updated document. The deadline is end of the day. This method is especially useful at work, where messages often contain several polite or formal expressions around one central task. Now, listen to another workplace request. When you get a chance, could you take a quick look at these figures and let me know whether they seem accurate? The useful information is, look at figures and confirm accuracy. The phrase "when you get a chance" softens the request. Take a quick look means examine something briefly. Let me know means tell me or inform me. Repeat the main chunks. When you get a chance. Take a quick look. Let me know what you think. Let me know whether it seems accurate. These expressions often appear together in professional and daily communication. Imagine that your manager says, "When you get a chance, could you take a quick look at the schedule? I think we may have booked 2 meetings at the same time." You do not need to analyze every word. The task is to check the schedule because there may be a conflict. Now, answer naturally. "Sure, I'll check it now," and let you know. This response confirms that you understood both the action and the reason. Fast English is also easier to understand when you recognize common storytelling patterns. People often tell stories in a predictable order. They begin with the situation, introduce a problem, explain what happened next, and end with the result or reaction. Listen to this story. I was driving home last night when I noticed the car was making a strange noise. At first, I thought it was coming from the road, but then the steering wheel started shaking. I pulled over, got out, and realized one of the tires was completely flat. Luckily, I was only a few minutes away from a service station. The story begins with the situation, driving home last night. Then a problem appears, a strange noise and a shaking steering wheel. The speaker takes action, pulls over and gets out. The cause becomes clear, a flat tire. Finally, there is a positive detail. A service station was nearby. Even if you miss a few words, the structure helps you follow the story. Expressions such as when, at first, but then, so, eventually, in the end, and, luckily, show the order and direction of events. Repeat these storytelling expressions. At first, I thought, but then I realized, so I decided to, in the end, luckily, unfortunately. These are useful listening signals and speaking tools. Now, try to retell the story in simpler English. A person was driving home when the car started making a strange noise. The steering wheel began shaking, so the driver stopped. One tire was flat, but a service station was close. This shorter version shows that you understood the main events. Paraphrasing is one of the best ways to test comprehension. After listening to a message, explain it in different words. You do not need to repeat the original sentence perfectly. In fact, exact repetition can sometimes hide weak understanding. A learner may remember sounds without fully understanding them. Paraphrasing proves that you understood the idea. Let us practice with a daily life message. I don't think I'll be able to make it to dinner tonight. I've been dealing with a problem at work, and it's taking much longer than I expected. I'm really sorry about the late notice. Now, paraphrase it. The speaker cannot come to dinner because a work problem is taking too long. The speaker is apologizing for canceling late. That is the complete meaning. Notice the phrase, make it. In this context, make it means arrive, attend, or be able to come. If someone says, I can't make it to the meeting, they are not talking about creating the meeting. They mean they cannot attend. Listen to these examples. I'm not sure I can make it by 6. She couldn't make it to the appointment. Do you think you'll be able to make it? The exact meaning depends on context, but it usually relates to arriving or attending. Repeat the sentences naturally. I can't make it tonight. I should be able to make it by 7. Sorry, I couldn't make it yesterday. This is a very common phrase in native conversation. Another expression you will hear often is work out. It can have several meanings. It may mean exercise, solve a problem, understand something, or develop successfully. Context tells you which meaning is intended. If someone says, I work out 3 times a week, the phrase means exercise. If someone says, we need to work out a solution, it means find or develop a solution. If a friend says, don't worry, it'll work out, it means the situation will probably end successfully. Listen to this conversation. Did you manage to work out the problem with your internet? Here, work out means solve. The answer might be, yes, I called the company and they fixed it remotely. Now, listen to another example. I hope everything works out with the new job. Here, the speaker hopes the situation develops positively. Phrasal verbs like make it, work out, pick up, find out, turn down, run into, and put off are common in natural speech. They can make English difficult because the combined meaning may be different from the individual words. You need to learn them in real situations rather than as isolated definitions. Let us practice find out. It means discover or learn information. I just found out that the store is closing. Can you find out what time the train leaves? We didn't find out about the change until this morning. In fast speech, Find out connects and may sound like find out. Repeat it naturally. I need to find out. Did you find out what happened? I'll find out and let you know. Now, practice put off, which means delay. We had to put off the meeting until Friday. I keep putting off that phone call. Don't put it off for too long. Notice that put it off becomes one connected sound group. Listen to this workplace update. We've had to put off the product launch because the final tests aren't finished yet. We're hoping to move it to the end of next month, but we won't know for sure until Friday. What happened? The launch was delayed. Why? The tests are unfinished. When might it happen? At the end of next month. When will they know for certain? Friday. The message contains several weak or connected forms. We have becomes we've, are not becomes aren't, and we will not becomes we won't. However, the strong words carry the main information. Another useful skill is learning how native speakers correct themselves. During natural speech, people often start with one word and then replace it. For example, I'll see you on Thursday, Friday morning. The final information is Friday morning, not Thursday. Always pay attention to corrections that come later. A speaker may say, the meeting starts at 2, or, actually, make that 2:30. The phrase make that introduces a correction. The correct time is 2:30. Listen to another example. We need 6 copies. No, wait, 8 copies altogether. The correct number is 8. A learner who focuses too strongly on the first number may keep the wrong information. Practice recognizing correction signals. Sorry, I meant, actually, no, wait. Let me correct that. Make that. When you hear one of these phrases, prepare to replace earlier information. Here is a voicemail example. Hi, your appointment is confirmed for Monday at 11. Sorry, I meant Tuesday at 11. Please arrive 15 minutes early. What is the correct day? Tuesday. The first day was corrected. Now, listen to a more complex message. The workshop will be in room 204 on the second floor. Actually, there's been a last-minute change. It'll now be in room 310 on the third floor. The correct location is room 310 on the third floor. Native speakers also use vague language when exact details are not necessary. You may hear expressions such as a couple of, a few, around, roughly, more or less, or so, and something like that. A couple of minutes usually means approximately 2 minutes, but it may sometimes mean a small number of minutes. Around 6 means approximately 6 o'clock. 20 people or so means approximately 20 people. Listen to this sentence. I'll be there in 10 minutes or so. The speaker is giving an approximate time. It may be slightly more or slightly less than 10 minutes. Another example is, the repair should cost around $100. The amount is not exact. A native listener understands the estimate without demanding a precise number. Repeat these expressions. Around 5 o'clock. A couple of days. 20 minutes or so. Something like that. More or less the same. These phrases make daily conversation sound flexible and natural. Now, let us combine several of these listening skills in a longer situation. Imagine that a friend leaves you this voice message. Hey, I'm just calling to let you know I might be a little late tonight. I was supposed to finish work at 5, but something's come up, and it looks like I'll be here for another hour or so. I should still be able to make it to the restaurant by 7:30, but if anything changes, I'll send you a message. First, identify the situation. A friend is explaining a delay. Next, identify the original plan. The friend expected to finish work at 5. What changed? An unexpected problem appeared. How much longer will the friend remain at work? About another hour. What is the expected arrival time? 7:30. What will happen if the plan changes? The friend will send a message. Now, notice the useful chunks. I'm just calling to let you know. I might be a little late. I was supposed to. Something's come up. Another hour or so. I should still be able to make it. And, if anything changes. Repeat the message in a shorter form. My friend will be late because of a problem at work, but expects to arrive at the restaurant by 7:30. That is the central meaning. Now practice a natural reply. Thanks for letting me know. 7:30 is fine. Just send me a message if you're going to be any later. Say it again with smooth connections. Thanks for letting me know. 7:30 is fine. Just send me a message if you're going to be any later. Another difficulty in fast conversations is responding while you are still processing information. You may understand the speaker, but you need a few extra seconds to prepare your answer. Native speakers use short expressions to hold their turn while thinking. You can say, "Let me think." That's a good question. I'm not completely sure. Give me a second. How can I put this? Well, the main thing is, these expressions give you time without creating an uncomfortable silence. Imagine someone asks, "What did you think of the proposal?" You need time to organize your opinion. You can say, "That's a good question. I think the general idea is strong, but a few details need more work." The first phrase gives you a moment to think. If someone asks, "When can you finish the report?" you might respond, "Let me think. I should be able to finish it by Thursday afternoon." This sounds more natural than remaining completely silent while calculating the time. Repeat these thinking phrases naturally. Let me think. Give me a second. That's a good question. I'm not sure how to explain it. The main thing is, use them calmly, not as signs of panic. You should also learn to confirm information when the details matter. At work, during appointments, while traveling, or when discussing payments. Guessing can create problems. Confirmation is a normal communication skill. You can say, "Just to confirm, the meeting starts at 3, right? So, you need the report by Friday morning? Did you say platform 13? Let me make sure I understood. You'd like me to call the client first?" These expressions allow you to check meaning without asking the person to repeat everything. Imagine a receptionist says, "Your appointment has been moved to the 23rd at 4:15. You can respond, "Just to confirm, that's the 23rd at 4:15, right?" This repeats only the critical information. Now, imagine your manager gives several instructions. Send the revised document to Maria. Copy Daniel into the email and ask them both to respond by Wednesday. You can say, "Let me make sure I understood. I should send it to Maria, copy Daniel, and ask for a response by Wednesday." This confirms the full task. Fast English becomes less frightening when you participate actively. You are not simply receiving sounds. You are predicting, selecting important information, checking meaning, using context, paraphrasing, and responding. These actions keep your brain engaged with the message. For one final exercise, listen to this natural daily life update. "I've just spoken to the repair company. They were supposed to come tomorrow morning, but the technicians called in sick, so they've had to put it off until Thursday. They said they should be here sometime between 10 and 12, but they'll call about half an hour before they arrive." Now, identify the original day. Tomorrow morning. Why did the plan change? The technician is sick. What is the new day? Thursday. What is the arrival window? Between 10 and 12. When will the company call? Approximately 30 minutes before arrival. Now, paraphrase it. The repair visit has been delayed until Thursday because the technician is sick. The technician should arrive between 10 and 12 and will call shortly before coming. You understood the message by combining context, strong words, predictable chunks, phrasal verbs, time expressions, and sentence structure. This is exactly how you should approach real native speech. Keep reminding yourself that successful listening is not the same as hearing every sound. Successful listening means understanding enough to follow the situation, identify the speaker's purpose, catch the essential details, and respond appropriately. When you can do that, you are already communicating successfully, even if a few words remain unclear. To make all of these listening skills permanent, you need a simple daily practice routine. You do not need to study for several hours. A short period of focused listening can be more effective than a long period of passive listening. The most important thing is to listen with a clear purpose. Instead of simply playing English in the background, decide what you are training. On the first listening, focus only on the general meaning. Ask yourself what the speaker is talking about and what the main situation is. Do not pause the audio, and do not worry about unclear words. Your goal is to stay with the speaker from beginning to end. This trains you to keep moving forward without becoming trapped by one difficult phrase. On the second listening, focus on important details. Listen for names, places, times, reasons, actions, problems, and decisions. After listening, explain the message in your own words. You can say 1 or 2 simple sentences. For example, the speaker missed the train because the bus was delayed. Now, she is going to take a taxi. This summary shows that you understood the essential message. On the third listening, focus on pronunciation. Notice contractions, weak words, connected sounds, reductions, stress, and intonation. Choose 1 or 2 short sentences and repeat them aloud. Try to copy the rhythm rather than speaking every word separately. This is where shadowing becomes especially useful. Let us practice this complete method with a daily life situation. Listen carefully. I was planning to leave early this morning, but I couldn't find my keys anywhere. I checked the kitchen, the bedroom, and even the bathroom. After about 10 minutes, I realized they were still in the front door from the night before. By then, I was already running late, so I skipped breakfast and left immediately. The general situation is simple. The speaker was late because the keys were missing. Now, focus on the details. Where did the speaker look? In the kitchen, bedroom, and bathroom. Where were the keys? In the front door. How long did the search take? About 10 minutes. What did the speaker do because of the delay? Skipped breakfast and left. Now, notice the natural phrases. I was planning to, I couldn't find, anywhere, after about 10 minutes. I realized, by then, and I was already running late. These expressions often appear in personal stories. Repeat the sentence, by then, I was already running late. Say it again naturally. By then, I was already running late. Now, change the situation. By then, the store was already closed. By then, everyone had already left. By then, the meeting had already started. This type of variation helps you recognize the same structure in many conversations. You are not memorizing one sentence. You are training a reusable pattern. You should also practice listening to different voices. If you listen to only one person, you may become familiar with that person's accent, speed, and pronunciation, but struggle with others. Native speakers have different voices, regional accents, speaking habits, and levels of clarity. Some speak softly, some speak with strong emotion, some pause often, while others connect long groups of words. Begin with clear speakers, then gradually include more variety. Listen to men and women, younger and older speakers, formal conversations, casual discussions, interviews, stories, and everyday dialogue. You do not need to understand every accent immediately. The goal is to teach your brain that the same word can sound slightly different depending on the speaker. For example, the phrase, "What are you doing?" may sound careful and clear from one speaker, Another person may say, "What are you doing?" Someone else may say it more slowly, but with a different vowel sound. The sentence remains the same, and context helps you identify it. Your own expectations can also affect your listening. If you believe native speakers are impossible to understand, your body becomes tense before the conversation even begins. You start listening with fear instead of curiosity. This makes it harder to process sounds. Replace that thought with a more useful one. I do not need every word. I only need enough information to follow the message. This reduces pressure and keeps your attention on meaning. Imagine that someone begins a long explanation, and you understand only the first sentence and a few important words afterward. Do not immediately decide that you have failed. Ask yourself what you know. Perhaps you know the topic, the problem, and the final decision. That may be enough to respond. Suppose a coworker says, "We've been having some issues with the new system. It keeps logging people out, and a few files haven't saved properly. The technical team is looking into it, but for now, make sure you save a backup copy of anything important." Even if you miss logging people out or looking into it, you may still catch new system, files, technical team, and save a backup copy. The central instruction is clear. Save important work in another place, now. Paraphrase the message. The new system has problems, so employees should keep backup copies of important files. That is successful understanding. The expression, "look into," means investigate. Listen to these examples. I'll look into the problem. The company is looking into what happened. Could you look into this and get back to me? In natural speech, "look into it" connects smoothly and may sound like one long phrase. Repeat it. I'll look into it. We're looking into the issue. Could you look into this for me? Now, place it into a realistic exchange. A customer says, "I was charged twice for the same order." The employee replies, "I'm sorry about that. I'll look into it and get back to you as soon as possible." The phrase "get back to you" means contact you again with an answer or update. Repeat it. I'll get back to you tomorrow. Let me check, and I'll get back to you. She said she'd get back to me by Friday. Recognizing these common expressions saves time, because your brain processes them as complete units. The more chunks you know, the less effort you need for each sentence. You should also practice listening when the meaning is implied rather than directly stated. Native speakers do not always explain everything clearly. Sometimes they expect the listener to understand from tone or context. Imagine you ask a friend, "Do you want to go out tonight?" Your friend replies, "I've got an early meeting tomorrow." The friend has not directly said no, but the meaning is probably a polite refusal. The early meeting is the reason. Another example is at work. You ask, "Can we finish this tomorrow?" Your manager says, "The client is expecting it by 5 today." The implied meaning is that you cannot wait until tomorrow. Listen for what the speaker wants you to understand, not only what the words say literally. This skill is especially important in polite English, where people may avoid direct commands or refusals. For example, someone may say, "It's a little cold in here," while looking at an open window. The sentence is a description, but it may also be an indirect request to close the window. A coworker may say, "We're running out of time," which may mean everyone should work faster or make a decision. Now, practice interpreting implied meaning. "I'm not sure that's the best idea." This may mean the speaker disagrees. It might be difficult to finish by Monday. This may mean Monday is unrealistic. I'll have to think about it. This may mean the speaker is uncertain and does not want to agree yet. You will understand these meanings more easily when you pay attention to intonation, context, and the relationship between the speakers. Let us finish with a longer comprehension practice that combines many features of natural English. Listen carefully. I was supposed to meet my brother at the airport this afternoon, but his flight ended up being delayed by nearly 3 hours. At first, The airline said it would only be a short delay, so I left home at the usual time. Halfway there, my brother called and told me not to come yet. I turned around, stopped at a grocery store, and came back home. He's just sent me another message saying the flight has finally taken off, so I'll probably head back to the airport in about an hour. Now, identify the original plan. The speaker planned to meet a brother at the airport. What problem occurred? The flight was delayed by almost 3 hours. What did the airline first say? The delay would be short. What happened while the speaker was traveling? The brother called and said not to come yet. What did the speaker do next? Turned around, visited a grocery store, and returned home. What is the latest update? The flight has taken off. When will the speaker leave again? In about an hour. Now, notice the useful language. Was supposed to. Ended up being delayed. At first. At the usual time. Halfway there. Told me not to. Turned around. Has finally taken off. Probably head back. And in about an hour. Paraphrase the story in your own words. The speaker's brother had a long flight delay. The speaker started driving to the airport, returned home after receiving a phone call, and will leave again soon because the plane has now departed. Now, repeat some of the most useful phrases. The flight ended up being delayed. I was halfway there when he called. He told me not to come yet. I turned around and went back home. The flight has finally taken off. I'll head back in about an hour. As you practice, keep your attention on the message, the strong words, the sound groups, and the speaker's purpose. Let unclear words pass when they are not essential. Use the next sentence to help you understand the previous one. Predict what is likely to come next, and confirm important details when necessary. With consistent practice, sounds that once seemed too fast will become familiar patterns. Did you will no longer surprise you when it sounds like didja. Going to will be easy to recognize as gonna. Weak words will stop disappearing because your brain will learn where they belong. Long sentences will become smaller groups of meaning, and native conversations will begin to feel more organized, predictable, and understandable. Thank you so much for listening and practicing with me today. I hope this lesson helped you understand why native English can sound so fast, and how you can train your ears to follow it more confidently. Remember, you do not need to understand every single word. Focus on the main message, listen for stressed words, notice connected speech, and use the situation to predict meaning. With regular practice, the sounds that seem difficult today will gradually become familiar. Try to practice with a short English conversation every day. Listen once for the general meaning, listen again for important details, and then repeat a few useful sentences aloud. Small daily practice can make a big difference in your listening confidence. If you found this lesson helpful, please like the video, subscribe to English in Minutes 2.0, and press the bell icon so you do not miss our future English learning videos. You can also leave a comment and tell me which type of fast English is most difficult for you to understand. Is it connected speech, reductions, different accents, or native speakers using unfamiliar expressions? Keep listening, keep practicing, and do not be discouraged when you miss a few words. Every time you listen carefully, your brain becomes better at recognizing natural English. Thank you again for learning with me. I am Emma, and I will see you in the next lesson.